right, Shez, F175 is in the books. The most highly anticipated event of this, what do we want to call it? Off-season, preseason, you name it. The most anticipated event of this year outside of Lewis Hamilton's debut in Ferrari at Fiorano, which only drew a few million of us crazy. But uh, F175 is in the books, Shez. About a 4.5 hour event, 15,000 in the audience.
Was it
F1
four and a
Tour.
half hours? Like the live thing was only two.
Obviously this was not planned with folks like me on the, sort of the west coast of the US in mind. We have a normal working day, right? We're not privileged enough to sit around tables and crack jokes and whatnot. But anyway, sounds like there were a million plus
Okay.
live viewers as per F1's self-reported YouTube data, and
Yeah.
seemed like a decent event. But I do want to ask you, tell me what three things stood out for you, like from this event, because you for one had this date marked for like eons and eons.
I did not. In fact, you did, Ammar. I seem to remember that Ammar Dalal back in I don't know the very beginnings of Tyre GP, when we weren't even called Tyre GP, said we should have a single launch event for everything. So you got your wish. I will give you three things. The first is that I was pleasantly surprised, because I was expecting this to be a little bit one note, a little bit boring, a little bit too far towards entertainment, to draw in somebody like me. But actually, there was enough stuff in there that got me interested too. I thought just about. Um, Second thing was the tone of it. Whoever did the script for Jack Whitehall needs a raise. It seemed a lot like the current F1 Twitter admin, who seems to have taken a happy pill this winter, and seems much more jovial. And that's what Jack Whitehall was as well. There was a lot of taking the mick out of F1, and all of the stuff that we take the mick out of F1 about. It was really good. Really nice to see F1 not take itself too seriously. And the problem is, for me, the bit of it that was the weakest was actually the livery reveals. Like, it was nice to see the cars, but that was actually the thing that it was there to do was actually the weakest part of the event for me. What did you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and that's where I want to get started with this, right? I think this was sort of branded as a livery launch, right? And you're right, by the way. This guy on this show about a year ago, right, this time's predicted and asked for F1 to make launches better by bringing everyone together, doing it one time, and then we're done with it. And look, for by and large, the way the event was billed, it at least worked out well. It got a lot of eyeballs, which is kind of what their hope was. But I do agree with you. It was less about delivery and more about, I would have, in hindsight, just called it an F1 preseason gala or something like that, because I really enjoyed every aspect of it outside of the actual car launch, because you couldn't really see those cars. And I think that a lot of those cars look like last year's cars. I can't imagine any of these teams sort of that, especially the ones that are not based in the UK, or even if you are, sort of getting their actual car to that place, right? To the stadium, wherever it is. I don't know locationally what those challenges are, but I imagine that would be a very awkward thing to bring your actual car to the stadium. So I
As in,
get
as
I get
in,
that
as in your,
the
your
actual livery,
as
yeah,
in, do you mean your actual
yeah,
2025 car? But that was
yeah.
never the point, though, was it? They
No,
were
no,
never
but
actually going to
what I
make the
meant
car.
is, yeah. So then there's no point, and deliveries are sort of a secondary thing. And I think F1 has probably stumbled onto something here too, right? Because doing it this way at the beginning of the season is a lot more exciting than doing the F1 gala or whatever the award show that happens at the end of the year, right? And although that makes sense to do an award show at the end of the year because you're awarding everyone that won stuff, I think it makes a lot of sense to do it the next year too in some way and celebrate what the year was. And look, F175 was just that, 75 years celebrating that. That made sense. They couldn't really do that 5 years ago because of the pandemic. So this kind of makes sense. And I really thought I would agree with you. This was an exciting show. I couldn't watch all of it live, but I was able to catch pieces of it along the way, and then kind of caught up on bits and pieces that I saw there. And You know what, Shez? Jack Whitehall was someone I didn't know about, and I got to know about him. And the one thing I did walk away from this saying, the degree of difficulty on making something as unappetizing as an actual livery launch, which is something that only those of us that are in the sport would enjoy and relish, and those of us that are, geeks and techies, if you will, right? Um, he did a great job. I mean, the degree of difficulty on making it funny is just amazing, and I thought he had the tone right, really
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think he actually wrote the script. Surely,
there. What he delivered it.
yeah, he delivered it nicely. He delivered it in a very Jack Whitehall kind of way, which was good. I mean, we're used to him in this country because he goes away with his dad quite often on holiday to Thailand and pushes, um, gets pushed into swimming pools by Jason Segal. What's his name? No, what's the guy that did ah
Jason Segel.
Jason? Is it Jason Segal?
Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal. Oh my god, yeah.
I have to admit, I didn't think it was going there here. Like, I have no idea what you're
That
talking
that's
about.
yeah, that's right. Steven Seagal pushed him into a pond in Thailand when he was on holiday with his dad. There you go. That's the entire story. But yeah, Jack Whitehall was great. Like his delivery was was fun, right? Um, and yeah, he was seems to have a slightly nervous look on his face anyway, but that seemed to work for this. The thing I liked about his sort of delivery the most and the script, I guess, was that, as I say, they were just making fun of Formula One. The fact that they put in the little feud between Max and George, and uh, you know brought in James Vowles and made fun of Brad Pitt, made fun of Lando Norris, made fun of Toto and Lewis and their little breakup. Brilliant. It was all in there. All of the stuff that we've been sitting there furiously dissecting all winter and all of the end of last year. You just made fun of it. Brilliant. I found that thoroughly enjoyable. And I'm sure other
I
people that aren't as ensconced in it would have found it quite amusing too.
I think the thing about this though is that you're not getting any new fans from any of this. Like, if this is an event that only appeals to
Oh,
those that
I
are native,
disagree with that.
there is
I
no one that
disagree with
is
that.
there is look, if you're somebody who's already a Formula One fan or even a relatively new Formula One fan, you're going to be looking forward to this because Shaz, there's a cheat code behind this event. Tell me what the cheat code is.
Money.
You want to take a guess? Of course, it's money. We should get to that. But the timing of it, we haven't had racing in what now, 3 months, 4 months? What is it? We haven't seen anything that resembles any kind of running other than leak shots of Lewis Hamilton, Fiorano, and then a couple of, I think, McLaren and was it Williams that sort of launched. But there's nothing really happening that's sort of worth watching right now. So we are hungry for it. I
Yeah,
mean,
but Ammar, they didn't
just we
create
sat
it.
up here.
They didn't create it for somebody like me. Like I want to.
It is an appetizer for you.
Not really. If I hadn't watched it, I don't think my life would have been any less enriched. Yes, I found
Sure.
Jack Whitehall funny, but I found that
I,
funny in that he was able to like that level of comedy, that approach to it is what's going to bring new people in,
right.
because they can see a sport that isn't taking itself too seriously, has a sense of fun about it.
But no one,
But
no one is sticking around for that thing.
but
No
yeah,
one is
but
sticking around.
I'm not watching it for Jack Whitehall. I'm watching it because
Uh,
we have to, we ultimately have to
well,
comment on it. Like I
the
wasn't
re
particularly, I wasn't interested in it beforehand.
yeah, but you're not interested in the livery either. Like, you didn't
Correct.
go to this show. If you're someone who's interested in liveries, then you're gonna wait for individual events like the one
Correct.
Ferrari are doing today.
Correct.
And
I found that
most
much more
people, that's
interesting.
gonna be,
They bring
yeah,
their, Ferrari
yeah,
bring their new car out, and we can get
yeah,
stuck into how that might affect um,
yeah.
Lewis and Charles in the upcoming season. Watch out for that video, by the way. We'll
Well,
talk about that.
but Shez, all of this, the whole idea of a livery launch is a marketing PR exercise, whether individual teams do it on their own or when
Yeah,
they do it as a
not a
combined thing.
bad
So
idea. Not
there's
a bad idea,
nothing.
but I also don't find livery launches interesting.
Yeah, there you go.
When Red
But
Bull
that's my
turn
point.
up and do that every single season and just show either the show car or last year's car with exactly the same livery as it was before, I don't find that interesting. So that's what I mean. For me, like this whole event wasn't designed for somebody like me, and that's what I mean by bringing in new fans.
Wait, are
They're
you?
not gonna bring in new people like me, are they? Or even you, if
Well,
I'm
you're not.
honest.
You and I are not new people. What I mean by new people is this: if this event was designed to celebrate 75 years. There's a,
Mm.
and they did a really good job
Yeah,
of memorializing drivers and showcasing moments, and I thought the production value of that was
yeah.
just impeccable. Really top notch. The lighting was great. And I think even the awkward moments of the entire show, if you want to call that, right, were really nice. I mean, James Wells and the two drivers not being able to take a selfie. I think they ended up taking a selfie video, or like I don't even know what they did. All that is funny. I mean, seeing Fernando Alonso and the least interested guy next to him put on helmets and kind of show up, and those are all great things. And look, I also think that doing this year to year would not be a good idea because this year you had some storylines, right? One of the biggest storylines of this, beyond it being the 75th year anniversary, is the Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari sort of transaction, right? That happened, and the fact that we were going to see Lewis in the red on a stage as big as this,
Ammar, we got
you're not going to get
5 seconds
moments like,
of Lewis Hamilton on the
and the
stage.
world went crazy for that, and that's the
Great, but
virality
but
that
but
they're going
yes,
to get.
yes, that's the new people that you're getting in. Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari. New people are going to be watching that. I'm not like I'm already there. Like if you didn't do this, it wouldn't make any difference to me. But new
It,
people that don't watch F1 would be interested in seeing Lewis in the red suit. Do you see what I mean? It's not made for
yeah,
people like me. It's not made for people that are already invested in the sport. It's
yeah,
built
but
to attract new people that were sort of on the sidelines. Do I want to watch Formula One? Has DTS done enough for me? Let me watch this thing. Let me see if I can get hyped up for it even more. And I think it would have done a great job for people like that that were umming and ahhing about whether or not they wanted to really follow this season. And it built it up
look,
really well. But it's not going to bring in. It's not going to make people watch Formula One it, like
yeah, of
people
course
who are
not. That's why.
already invested in it are not gonna watch it thinking,
Correct.
"Oh, I'm definitely gonna watch the season now." They were gonna watch
Shez,
it anyway.
Shez, I think even among those of us that are invested in this, there are different levels of having an appetite at this stage in the year, right before the season starts. I mean, there's a reason why Netflix comes out with Drive to Survive right as racing starts, not a month before. Those kind of things, right? There's a reason for that because there are people that want to tune in. My point is,
Yeah.
if you are trying to appeal to a new audience, someone that is not exposed to the sport, this is not the kind of event that would bring in, because maybe you got somebody
So
to have
what would be
a
then?
look see, but
What would be the event
you
then?
had, if you're a general sports fan, you're not sort of tuning into this right now, because here's the other missed mark, right? And we can talk about where they could have done a little bit better. They did not have a big name performer in there. They did not, and someone with international appeal. I have to tell you, I knew none of the musical acts. Now, one of them is American too, right? And he's a country music singer, and he's great. And I'm not suggesting by any means that this is a shoddy list or of has-beens or anything like that. There might have been artists that are very relevant to a certain part of the globe. That's fine. But if you are looking at, look, you have to bring in some. Kendrick Lamar just got done with an NFL performance. That was the highlight of the Super Bowl. I mean, you want somebody like that. You got to bring in a Drake or something. Before you guys get all crazy, I'm not suggesting to bring Drake in or Kendrick Lamar in, but I think if you wanted to make a splash, you want to bring in a kind of a Beyonce level personality that appeals to the world and not necessarily, dare I say, just the UK, which I'm completely fine with. No problem at all. I'm not alleging any kind of bias, but before some of you guys come at me in the comment, I'm just saying that if you came into this event as a different type of viewer, right, and you were expecting more F1 talk, you were likely disappointed by it. But the build-up felt great. The build-up was made for traditional audiences like us, and it is. You might say that it was not the type of appetizer that you would like necessarily, Shez. But I would bet that a majority of our viewers tuned in wanting to get some taste of Formula One, and the idea again that Lewis is going to be in red. And even if it was for 5 seconds, you didn't know that going in there. You just didn't. And so you would have tuned in and you would have at least stayed until that part, right? And Ferrari, McLaren were towards the end. So there was that. So I don't think this was a bad event in the end. I think this was a good way to kind of celebrate an anniversary, right? I think that what I would have liked to see, Shez, is a little bit more on the rivalries. Like I would have loved to kind of see, like that's the missing moment. Is a truly viral moment that happens from there. The best we got is some level of booing, which I'm like, whatever, man. Okay, booing, so big deal. Like, what's the big deal with that, right? There's nothing where I would have loved to see I don't know, a little bit more between Russell and Verstappen, like because that's the only known rivalry right now, and maybe create a new one. I don't know.
I'm not going to let this go because I think we need
Whoa,
to get this. We need to get this
the
like
booing.
really clear, right? That you're saying that this was designed for people that are already invested in Formula One, right? My
Correct.
argument to that is that I think the aim of it was to get new people in. Whether or not it was successful in doing that is a different question. But the aim was to try and get new people in.
Yeah. So
That's
it
why they
failed.
had musical acts that had nothing to do with Formula One. There's no reason to have them there other than because you want to get people that aren't normally interested in Formula One into Formula One. Now, you might not like the choice of artists that they got. I couldn't care less. Like genuinely, it doesn't make any difference to me. But
Well,
but
because you
but
can't have a
that's the
show.
reason that they are there, right? It's there to bring in people that wouldn't normally be interested in Formula One. As I say, if you're going to be watching the season, this isn't going to change your mind about that. So why would they aim it at us?
But they're not changing their mind, Chaz. My argument is that they are using. Well, first of all, this is a 75th year celebration. That it's as simple as that, right? On some level, and this is a chance to test out something that could work. I mean, there is some merit
Test it
behind
out to
having.
do what? What did they?
I think
Because
I think the next
Amar,
argument that you're gonna have.
Amar, I agree with you, right? That I think livery reveal after livery reveal is boring. So doing it all in one session is fine. I think
Well, that's why you need musical acts in between.
that makes perfect sense. But I'm not sitting there like if Red Bull do a livery reveal, right? The only reason I log in to see the car that Red Bull are releasing in a particular season is to hear from Pierre Vacher and Adrian Newey or Christian Horner about their new car and what the little bits and pieces are on it that are going to make it a championship winner that season. That's what I want. That this event did not do that. So it's
Yes,
not for people.
absolutely
So
did not.
it's so okay. So Morris, it's not for people like
No,
me.
but
So who are the other type of Formula One fans that we
well,
have,
it
right?
was for people like me who love to get a taste of Formula One before it gets started. And for me, I look at those everything you just said about hearing from Pierre Vache and all. To me, it's just words and pictures. Like I can stand there and ogle pictures of these cars, but until they've hit the track, there is no saying how good they're gonna be. Like, and you know this as well as anybody. You followed the sport for a while. Nobody's giving you the real juicy details that we would love
Sure.
to know, and we have no idea if they're gonna be great or not. So we can sit here and look at the picture of the SF-25 and get all worked up about the white space for HP or not. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And I'm saying this again. I know because some of you will say, who cares? But it is really who cares because until you see the car on the track and you see how good
Yeah.
they are relative to each other, it means nothing. It
And
really
okay.
doesn't. So if you're
I don't mind that. But as I say, for me, it's going to be like testing is what's going to be actually interesting, right?
sure, fair enough.
This is just a taster
Yeah, that's all it is.
towards that. What I would be really disappointed in is if they do this for 2026 when we've got a brand spanking new bunch of cars coming, and this is how they reveal all of them, like where you can
But
barely see the car,
Shez,
you don't
what
get a
part of
chance.
this is real? Yeah, but what part of this is actually? I mean,
But yeah, but
even
Amar, what I mean is, if that's what they do, then you don't have any of the teasers that you have. Like when 2022 happened, right at the beginning of the season, when when Haas decided to drop their render of what their car was going to look like in 2022, right at the beginning of a brand new technical regulation, mate, I was hooked. Obviously, I want to see that. But if you give me an event where I can barely see the car, then no,
which has
that's not gonna do it for me. And
even
that's what
between
I'm
you and I,
yeah.
even between you and I, both fans, I think we are pretty in it, right? To do
Mm,
something like this,
I think so.
we look at different aspects of the build up, right? You are wanting, you just said everything that you want. I want the exact opposite of it in some ways, in that
Sure.
I want to hear from people. I want to hear about rivalries. I want to create a little bit of drama. I want to create some
Did you
storylines for the season because
did you get that from this?
I didn't, and that's why I'm saying it failed in that regard too, right? I mean, if you want to call it fail, I'm not sure that that was their stated goal, right? So I don't want to kind of go out there. Look, so that's my point. We're
That's
looking
what
for
I mean.
different things, but that's what we're saying. We're looking for different things,
So it's
and for
actually not there for either of us. That's what I mean. It didn't do
yeah,
the things it was supposed to do for either of us. So therefore, who
yeah,
is it
but
for? It must be for people that are not invested in the sport
no,
as
it
yet.
isn't. Of course not, because it. But if you are in, no, Shez, it was intended for a blend of people that value some of the things that you do and some of the things that I do. And I imagine that no, if you categorize Formula One fans for what they're looking at maybe a mix of the things that you and I are. We seem to be on the opposite ends of the spectrum, and I'm guessing a huge majority of the F1 viewing audience falls somewhere in between this. And so that's what it's intended for. Remember, again, this is not something they've committed to doing year after year after year. And in my
It
opinion,
shouldn't.
based on what they did last year, they should kind of leave these for milestone events. So maybe every 5 years, probably a good idea, something like this. But I will tell you, Shez, there were elements of this that I love. I love the idea of putting all of these guys in a setting before the season has started. And I want to see more interaction if that happens next time. When I say rivalries, I want to see Toto Wolff and Christian Horner go at each other in some way. I don't know, make it a little bit more funny. Don't take yourself seriously because the car liveries really didn't matter, right? But it was nice to see everyone together.
Don't you already
I
have
even love
DTS
seeing
for
that.
that? Like if you want to see rivalries, even
Yeah,
like made up rivalries,
but
don't you have
that's
DTS
last
for
year,
that?
right?
Well,
But that's last year.
but
It's
but
changed
that's
over the year.
sold as an appetizer for the upcoming season. It always
I mean,
is.
look, in the suggestions I'd made last year, one of them included drivers going around and identifying which livery belongs to them. And Charles Leclerc told us yesterday that that was the first time he saw the SF25, such that it might be
But I mean,
the livery
I think
might be just
I
like a
think they'd be
hidden gem.
fairly sure that the one that comes out in red with the prancing horse on it is going to be Ferrari.
No colors. And I'm talking
Oh,
about
so you're
doing.
not talking about livery. You're talking about cars. You're talking about the
I
actual car name.
if
Right.
if we're
Okay.
gonna have entertainment value and we are doing it at the beginning of the season where nothing is at stake, I think that Formula One can double down by making it even more fun. And by the way, one of the
That's
complaints that came out of this
exactly
event,
what would draw more people in. And I
yeah,
agree with you.
of course,
That's what
and
you
one of
should
the
be doing it
complaints
for.
was the lack of tickets and the lack of access.
Mm.
So I think that they should think about doing these shows in multiple places, if at all possible and feasible. I know that this is not something the drivers appreciate, but I think if you make it more fun and it's less of the same thing, right? Who do you think is going to everyone wants to know who's going to win, who's going to gain how much on each other. We're not going to know a thing until is it Melbourne this year? Yeah, Melbourne. We're not going to know a thing until then. Even testing's not going to tell you much of anything other than if someone is really crap, then you'll find out. And we know who those are going to be. We know headed into this year, these teams are going to be close. So who knows who's exactly ahead until they hit an actual racetrack, actual race weekend. So make it more fun, have more fun with it. I have more awkward moments. I would love for all of the team principals to do a selfie competition for one. Just seeing how James Wells fumbled through the whole thing. That would be funny, man. Like just do that kind of stuff. Put the team principals against each other. Do something out
Amar,
of the
these
ordinary.
all
It just makes it
brilliant
fun.
ideas that would be great for people
Formula One, call me.
that already like Formula One. But if you're trying to do an event that's trying to get new people in,
You need
this
viral moments.
this
You
is
need
how you
viral
do it.
moments.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
this is
having
viral
Jack
moments.
Whitehall doing little viral moments
Absolutely.
like taking the Mickey out of Lando Norris, or you know,
Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, that's
Gordon
good.
Ramsay in the swearing. That was a brilliant moment. That's the kind of thing that's going to bring new people in, and that is why I think that's that was the main aim of this event.
Yeah.
Whether they did it correctly or not, the aim was to bring in new people, not just try and get the same people to keep watching it. Anyway, let us know what you guys think. Was this an event that, number one, you guys were into? Was it something that you were excited about beforehand? Did it live up to everything you wanted it to, or was it a complete letdown? Or were you not interested in it at all, either before, during, or after? Do you think that if your spouse or significant other who doesn't like Formula One watches, would they suddenly become interested in Formula One? We want to know. Leave us a comment. We'll read every single one. We will reply to as many as we possibly can, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Later.